Yeah, we took the browser name here called Mozilla, and we checked whether the browser is equal to Firefox, Chrome, or IE, and depending on that, we opened up Firefox, Chrome, or IE, initialized WebDriver to null, and initialized the driver object to the respective browser which you wanted to open. Right. Now, after going to a website, I need to interact with the web page. Okay. Now, how do you interact with the web page using Selenium? Fine. To do that, you know what? You have to have knowledge of the HTML language. Okay, because if you go to any website, right? Suppose even if I execute this code, BBC will open up. Fine. So when BBC opens up, just hold on. Okay. So um, in this website, suppose if I have to click on any link, right? For example, this one, okay, or this one, or I have to type in something inside the search field, okay. So how do I do that? The thing is, HTML comes into the play over here because if you go to the page source of the page, okay, page source will give you the HTML code of the web page, okay, and HTML code of the web page describes how the web page is built. Fine. Uh, in HTML, right? Similarly, for example, if I go to Gmail, for example, in Gmail as well, if I is it actually the problem is it's raining very heavily here. Is it breaking for others as well? Is my voice breaking? For few people it is breaking. Let's try it out for 5 minutes. If it breaks for people, let's see. Fine. Make sure there is no electronic equipment near you, right? So let's try for 5 minutes. If it breaks, let me know because it's raining very heavily here. Okay. So all right. So fine. If you go to any web page, okay. If hold on. If you go to any web-based application, okay, then every web-based application has got a page source. Okay, this page source has got HTML code inside it. Now, if you have the knowledge of HTML, it will be quite easy for you to understand Selenium, because what Selenium does is that it goes inside this HTML code and works on the tags and all of this code. Okay, now first of all, I would recommend you to install an add-on known as Firebug inside your Firefox. Hold on. Yeah, so do one thing, go to Google and just type download Firebug. Do this inside the Firefox browser. Okay, don't do it in Chrome or IE. Open this link, the first link in Firefox, and you will see this button over here called as Add to Firefox. Fine, and when you click on this button, uh, Firebug will be added into your Firefox. You will be able to see Firebug uh, out here. This will be the icon. Okay, when you click on this, a window will appear like this at the bottom. Fine, you click on this arrow, okay, you click on the arrow out here, then move the mouse on the web page, and you will get the corresponding HTML code of the element highlighted at the bottom. Fine, even if I go to a web page, like I'll take a very simple example in the beginning, Gmail, right? So out here, if you look at this, so you'll get the code of the input field highlighted. Hold on, I'll increase my text size. Right, I'm increasing my text size. Okay, and uh, you see, this is the HTML code for this input field. Now, before I move further, let me give you a brief HTML refresher, because Selenium is a tool which works on the HTML code of the website. It parses the HTML code, it finds the element through the HTML code, and only then it moves forward. Okay, so knowledge of HTML is, or a pretty good knowledge of HTML is quite important. Okay, so what I would recommend you is that first of all, go through a small HTML tutorial on the website. Just type HTML tutorial and you will have this page coming up, right? Just look at the initial part, that is I think till iframes. Okay, not the complete stuff, only from home to iframes. It will be more than enough. Okay, so now first let me brief you on the HTML language, right? Because this is the language which makes a web page, and Selenium reads this language. So I'll make a new Excel file over here, and no, you can install it on any version, Saira. You can install Firebug on any version. Fine, there is no specific version required. Okay, so but Firebug will make your work very easy, because it will be very easy to inspect your elements on the page. right? Now in this Excel file, let me make some simple columns like element, then uh, tag name. Hold on, I'll tell you what I'm doing. Mandatory attributes and optional attributes. Okay, now hold on, I'll tell you what these things are. Okay, now we all know what all elements are there on a web page. What all is present? You have got, say, a text field present on the web page. Okay, then you have a radio button, you have checkbox, then you have links, right? You have normal buttons as well. Okay, you have links, you have a drop list, you have normal text which is present on the page, the normal written text, the plain English text which is there on the web page, right? What else do you have on a web page? Um, Now there are few components which are not visible to the human eye. For example, web tables, fine, or you have got frames. Okay, fine, Meenakshi, I'll let you know after the class. Okay, yeah. Then label is a part of text only, right? Then there is an image as well present on the web page. Okay, so now these are the various components which are present on the web page. Okay, now how do I identify these components on with Selenium? You identify these components with the help of tag name, mandatory attributes and optional attributes associated with these elements. Alright, so Ram, are you able to hear me clearly now? I hope you are able to hear me clearly now, Ram. Okay, so all right. Now, if you look at the text field on any web page, or if you look at any object on a web page, right, in the page source, okay, whatever is there in blue, like whatever is starting with this conical bracket, is a tag name. Div is a tag name. Label is a tag name. Input is a tag name. Again, div is tag. Input is tag. Label. Form is a tag. UL is a tag. So whatever is there in the blue color over here, script, starting with the conical bracket, this is a tag name. A tag name is mandatory. It comes along with every component on the page in the in the HTML language basically. Okay. So in case of attributes, what are attributes? Every tag has set of attributes associated with it. For example, this is the input tag. It has attributes like ID, type, value, name. These are the attributes. Okay. So these all will be present in the tag. For example, if I look at the Google image on the top, this is the Google image. Then this img is the tag name. Okay, class, alt, source. These are the attributes. Fine. Now, sometimes the attributes are compulsory. Some of the attributes sometimes are optional. For example, if I look at the if I look at this web page, WP schools, if I look at this text field on the top, okay, now this text field has the tag name input. Okay, now input will be the tag name for all the text fields on all. Is somebody asking a question? Hello? I request you to keep your microphones on mute, okay, so that everybody can hear and there is no disturbance in recording the session, right? So input is the tag name over here, okay, and every tag has set of attributes, mandatory attributes and optional. Now all these attributes, ID, class and all are optional attributes. In case of an input, in case of the input field, okay, having the tag name input, you will always find that there is an attribute known as type equals to text. This is mandatory. It's predefined. You have to remember this. Okay, type equals to text attribute is mandatory for the tag name input. Okay, so for a text field, the tag name is input. Okay, out of all the attributes like ID, size, and all, type equals to text is the mandatory one. Fine, and right, for the radio button, from my experience, I know that, or for a checkbox as well, I know that the attribute is again input. If I look at this checkbox over here, stay signed in, fine. If I look at the checkbox, then the checkbox also has got an input tag name, but the type is equal to checkbox. Type is a mandatory attribute in case of checkbox as well. So in case of a checkbox, you will have type equals to checkbox, but the tag name will be input. In case of radio button as well, you will have the tag name like input and type attribute over here will be equals to radio. For a button as well, the tag name is input, but the type attribute comes like this, submit. Okay, in case of a link, if you look at any link, you must be knowing the structure of a link. It's got an href tag and all, most of you might be knowing, right? So if you look at a link like this, newest features or something, then a link always has got the tag name a anchor tag, and there is always a mandatory attribute known as href, which is associated with the link and which tells us that which web page will open up if I click on that link. It points towards the URL, which href attribute points towards the URL which will open when you click on a link, right? So anchor tag and href. Href is the mandatory attribute and tag name a is the tag name there basically. Okay. In case of a drop list, fine. In case of a drop list, for example, a drop list like this on Gmail page on the bottom right corner, which has got various different languages, right? If you look at this text field, then this text field has got a select tag name, right? With this select tag name for a drop list, the tag name is select. There is no mandatory attribute for a drop list. I'm telling you this from my experience. So you should know these combinations because these only will help you to identify the elements. For a text, what do you mean by text? A normal text like this video chat with a friend, or for a text on a web page. You know what? You cannot describe a single tag for a text on the web page. Text can be present in a tag called label or span or div, okay, or para tag, right? And there are other tags as well, many other tags, okay. You cannot just say that I have limited my text to this tag name or something. No, it's not like that, okay. Text can be present with any of the tags. There are many number of tags. Okay, now there is no mandatory or optional attributes for a text. Okay, for image on a web page, as I just told you, like this is the Google image. The tag name is img. It will always be there. Okay, and there will be an attribute known as source, which points towards the URL from which the image is loading. If I copy this URL and open it over here, then you'll see the Google image coming up, right? Okay, so this is the URL in through which the image comes up. So if you go here, then src source is a mandatory attribute for image, which tells you the location from which or the URL from which the image is loading. Fine. So I hope this thing is clear to everybody. I'll not talk about web tables or iframes right now. Okay, as I proceed with the course, I'll talk about them. Fine. Now, optional attributes. At times you will find attributes like ID, name, class, and all. Generally, these three attributes are optional attributes, and they can be present or they cannot be present with any of the tag names or any of the elements. Okay, fine. So whether I'll take your point, the question is being asked in a drop list. Suppose there are 100 values. How do I know which value am I pointing to? Okay, that I'll answer as I proceed. Okay, so uh, again, question is being asked. If we don't have a mandatory look, mandatory attributes will always be present if the element is present. If there is a radio button present, you cannot say that you will not get this attribute. It's not correct. If there is a radio button on the page, right, you will always have this particular type equals to radio present. Okay, what will be the tag name for a pop-up? There is no tag name for a pop-up. Okay, pop-up is a separate window. In that you can inspect the elements. To open a pop-up, you have to click on a link or any other element, right? Pop-up as a entity taken together is a browser. It's not an element. It's a browser having various elements. Inside the pop-up, you'll again get the page source and you can identify the elements. Okay. If we have two drop boxes, if we have two links and all, I'll talk about all of them, right? At this stage, just understand a normal, simple looking component on a web page will have these tag names, will have these mandatory attributes, and these optional attributes. Okay, right? I am Sumedha. I am not teaching you right now how to point towards an object. Right? I am teaching you how the object is made first of all. Right? Sorry guys. Automation as a tool in this we call every component on the page as a object. Right? This text is object. This image is an object. This text field is an object. Button is an object. Technically in automation everything is known as an object. So if I use the word object, don't get confused. Object means a certain component on your web page. Alright. So now moving further from this, right, in case of Selenium, okay, now how will we use Selenium to identify these elements on the page? For example, a very simple thing, like you have to go to Gmail and type in your username and password and you have to log in, right? Now in Selenium technically everything is known as a web element. All these things, text fields, radio buttons, checkboxes, buttons, names, droplets, text, image, all these things technically are known as web elements. Okay, now how does that help us? If you go to seleniumhq.org, if you move to Java docs over here, then you will see that if you scroll down, you will see that there is an interface known as web element. Okay, right? Web element interface represents any general element on the page. Okay, web element as such represents any. Don't confuse this with web element of QTP. If you know QTP, just keep the knowledge aside. Don't try to mingle it with Selenium. Selenium is quite different. Okay, web element of QTP and web element of Selenium, they are very different. People who have studied QTP, they get confused. Okay, out here web element means a general component on your web page, and in this interface web element you have got the functions which you can perform with any components on a web page. For example, a function like clear. If this is a text field entry, then function clear will clear the value of the text field. Okay, click this element, very simple, right? And after that there's a function like is displayed which tells you whether the element is displayed on the page. Now don't confuse this function is displayed. It will not tell you whether the element is present on the page or not. Okay, it assumes that the element is already present, but it tells you that if the element is hidden on the page or not. Okay, at times elements are hidden on a web page. When you move your mouse over any element, the element becomes visible. For example, if you talk about a website like bbc.com, hold on, it's taking time to load. Right, on this website, right, if I click on this arrow, a new element will load up. If I click on back arrow, the element will disappear. So there are certain elements on the page which appear right on the page if you do some mouse interactions. So this function over here is displayed tells us whether the element is currently displayed on the page or not. It assumes that the element is already present on the page, but it will tell you whether it is visible to the human eye or not. Fine. Similarly, is enabled, is selected, submit, get the text, get the size, get the location. So I'll talk about these functions, but generally what I'm trying to tell you over here is that the web element interface in general tells you, or it gives you set of functions which are available for us for any component on a web page. Okay, and if you look at, hold on, if you look at the WebDriver interface, over here we have the function known as find element, which returns you the reference of web element. What I am trying to tell you is that if I make a new project over here called day4 and I add the jars for Selenium, right? These are the jar files for Selenium. Okay, I have added it in D4, and I'll create a new class called as a very simple class like Gmail. Fine. Now, if I write the simple code like the day we wrote yesterday, you dynamically open the browser, and after that you navigate to say gmail.com. Now on gmail.com I need to say write my username. So you will use the command driver dot, you'll get a function find element. Okay, you use this function find element which is there in the WebDriver interface. This function returns you a reference of web element interface. You can write over here web element username equals to driver.find element. You'll have to import web element. Okay, driver.find element. Now how do you find the element? Okay, there is a class known as by in WebDriver API. If you open this class by in Java documentation, this tells you the various locator strategies. Locator strategies are used to locate the elements within the document. For example, by the class name of the elements, CSS selector, then ID, link text, name, partial link text, tag name, path. So I'll talk about all these mechanisms with you, right? Let's take up the simplest one, which is ID. If the developer is good enough, he would have given ID for every element on the web page. Okay, if I look at this username field, then the username field is having an ID. ID is an optional attribute. It can be present or it cannot be present with the element. But if the developer is good, he is sure to give you ID of the element on the web page. Okay, the ID of this input tag is email. Fine. If you write over here driver of find element by the ID, this is the ID. Fine. It will find the element, okay, user, and will return you the element interface reference username. Now by is a class in which everything is static. Okay, everything is static. Remember I told you static. Static can be used directly with the class name. So that's what I am writing over here. Class name dot static function ID by the ID, right? Okay, so by the ID email you find it and you get the username. Okay, similarly, if there is any question, please let me know. Okay, I will have the password field, and password field is this one, the input with ID password. Okay, so I'll put password here, right, and I'll run this code. See, it runs in Mozilla. It goes to the web page. Okay, I'm just extracting it. Sorry, I did not write anything in it. If you have to write in the text field, you can write web element username dot send keys. Send keys function is there inside the web element interface. What does find element return you? It returns you a web element. Okay, web element has got a function known as send keys, which can be used to simulate typing into an element. Okay, so you write over here username dot send keys, say anything a1, and password dot send keys p1. Okay, so hold on, I'll answer all the questions. Just hold on, I'll run this code, and you see that? Fine. Okay, I'll answer the questions. Just hold on. If I change my browser to Chrome, right? If I change my browser to Chrome and now I execute it, this will also work. Why? Because you are only changing the browser. Fine. The page source, it remains the same. Okay. Browser is just an interface. What you get from the server actually is this page source. It remains the same for all the browser until or unless the developer has not specifically written it differently for different browsers. Okay, but that is a very rarest of the rare case. But in 99.99% of the applications, the page source remains same in all the browsers. So the code which is supposed to work on Chrome will also work on Mozilla and IE. Okay, now there are a few questions being asked. The first one is that if any chance ID is same for two elements. Well, Lakshmi, this is a highly likely possibility at times, because at times the developers, they do a mistake. They give same IDs to different elements on the page. Okay, it should not be done. The first thing you should do is you should ask them to correct it. Secondly, what will Selenium do if that is the case? Okay, now you should understand how Selenium extracts the components on a web page. Okay, Selenium starts to scan the page on the top left and it goes to the bottom right. So when Selenium scans the page, it scans the page like this. Okay, fine. Now suppose there are two elements on the page which are having the same ID. One is suppose out here and the other one is out here. Okay, so no, this is not smart identification or something, right? There, if you use find element function, okay, then as per the description of find element function, if you look at the Java docs, then this is the find element function. It says that find the first web element using the given method first. Okay, so what happens is that when your Selenium would be scanning the page, and if you are using find element function, right, find element will by default use this element. Find element will not use this, because find element finds the first element with the given criteria. Okay, now what if you have to use this one? There are ways available. Okay, I'll talk about them. I'll talk about them later on, right? But just I want to explain you this concept. Find element will get you the first one. Okay, now there's another question being asked. If we use optional attributes and not mandatory attributes, whether the object, yeah, it should be unique. Okay, it should be unique. That's it. For example, this if I write that get the elements, all the elements, if I write such a code, for example, get the elements on the page with type equals to text, what will this Selenium get me? Selenium will get me all the text fields. If I tell Selenium that fine, go and get me an element on the page with the tag name A, it will get me all the links on the page, right? So it's not the thing that if I'm only using optional attributes, I'll not be able to identify the elements or something. No, it's not like that. Okay, rather optional attributes only help you to identify the elements uniquely, because mandatory attributes are present with many of the elements. Okay, so hold on, this thing will get clear. This thing is something which can only get clear if you practice. With practice, it gets clear, right? How to check with multiple usernames and passwords on the same user? Okay, fine. The question is being asked what if I have to enter different usernames, different passwords and all, and I want to validate the page. Okay, well you can do that. For that you'll have to use TestNG framework or something, which I have not taught you right now. So I'll be teaching you, and then I'll teach you how to link up a test case with multiple sets of data. That's the major requirement, right? You have a test case, and you have to link that test case with multiple sets of data. So I will be teaching you that. Just hold on, right? Can we do multiple combination of attributes? Yes, you can do if you're using experts or so. I'll talk about that as well. That is how to identify an object based on its ID as well as name as well as type. So you have got multiple, you can say, attributes with which you can identify an element. Yes, you can do that. Okay, fine. Now, one more thing, if I'm identifying a username and typing into it, I'm writing 2 lines of code over here to work with one element. I first extract the element and then I write into it. So technically, practically, and technically how we do it is that we write like this: driver dot find element email, and in front of it dot send keys some username, like this. We write it in one go. We don't write the code in 2 lines. I just wrote the code in 2 lines to just make you understand. The execution starts from the left side. First, this part is executed and the web element is returned, and then send keys is fired in the web element. Always remember, execution in Java starts from the left side. Okay, what do I mean by execution in Java always starts from the left side? Hold on, I'll take up a very simple example. Java basics. Okay, hold on. This is not relevant to Selenium, but relevant to Java, because you should have this knowledge. Otherwise, at times people they get confused. If in Java I type system.out.println 7 plus 9, what will this print? When I run this will print 16. Okay, if I write like this, sum is 7 plus 9. So what will this print? Any ideas? What will this print? 79, right? So if you run this code, this will actually print 79 because execution starts from the left side. Okay, and this is a string. First 7 gets merged into the string and then 9 gets merged into the string. Okay, or if I print like this, 7 plus 9 plus is the sum. So now it will print 16 is the sum. Why? Because execution starts on the left side. First these two numbers are added and then they are concatenated into a string. Okay, similar kind of stuff happens over here. When you write driver.find element, okay, you actually find the element and then you use the send keys function on it. Okay, so similarly for password as well, you can write driver.find element by the ID password dot send keys some password. So if you run this code, you see that, right? So this is how you identify the elements. Now there are other mechanisms to identify the elements as well. If I am writing by dot, you get class name, you get link text name. Name can also be used. If out here the Gmail developers, they have also given the name to the password field. If you look at the Gmail page and the password field, then the name of this field is also password. So a component can also have name and you can identify on the basis of name as well. Identifying on the basis of ID or name is the easiest thing. Okay, but at times you have got elements on a page which cannot be identified normally. For example, text like this: experience the easy and simplicity of Gmail. Right? Text like this is inside the H4 tag, which is having no ID, no name, nothing. Okay, so at times you will have situation wherein you do not have any attribute to identify the element. So over there you have got other options like CSS selector or XPath to identify the element. Okay, so I'll talk about that tomorrow, right? I'll talk about that tomorrow. So let's wind up for today. But before that, I hope everybody has got the username password whosoever had registered. And if you have not got, then just let me know. Hold on. Somebody was pinging in me in the morning that I have not got it. I sent it to him. Okay. Okay, yeah, Murli, I think you were pinging me, right? Fine. Fine, you got it, right? So I hope everybody has got the username password, right? So now, is there any question from anyone regarding anything? Okay, the next class will be day after tomorrow. That's the last trial class. Okay, and okay, Sairam, I'll have a look at it after the class. Hold on, I'll have a look at the problem. And anybody else any questions? Recorded video for both the sessions you get it today. Okay, I did not convert the yesterday recorded session. Some error was coming up. Okay. Uh, may I have your username, Krishna? Yeah, you'll get it after the classes. I'll give you your badge ID. Your email, please. Okay. So fine then. All right, yeah, Sairam, I'll have a look at it. Okay. The lifetime access is there for the pre-recorded sessions and the sessions for which you are the sessions which we are recording in the class. You will have access for 3 months to them. Okay, the pre-recorded sessions you have access forever. Yeah, Pratiksha, just ping me on Skype or send me a message. I'll send you across. I'll send you.